Before we start our podcast, a lot of you have been listening to Swisspreneur for inspiration on your own entrepreneurial journey. And I want to tell you about a great opportunity to get non-dilutive funding and coaching for your startup. If you have an innovative business idea, consider joining Venture. They're Switzerland's leading startup competition, and every year they award over 500,000 Swiss francs in cash prizes, McKinsey & Company business consulting packages, and an amazing mentorship program. Submit your free application by March 3rd on venture.ch.
I believe that you can have a stronger company culture in a remote setting than in a classical in-office setting.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Ivan, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yes, super excited. Thanks for having me.
You're the co-founder and CEO at Deskbird, a people-centric solution for a hybrid workspace. And before we talk about your solution, we want to start with your personal background. You actually have a background in economics and also worked for a number of banks and consulting companies before you then joined the entrepreneurial world. So I wonder, what about the corporate environment just didn't fit with you? Why do you want to leave the safe harbor, so to speak?
Very good question. Actually, I felt this urge of doing something on my own and starting an own venture quite early. It was already while I was studying. We did a couple of very funny things, such as doing donuts, for example, cooking donuts and trying to sell them among our neighbors. For example, this was, I think I was 8 years old. A bit later, we started an online shop for soccer T-shirts, for example, where kind of the whole e-commerce was still at the very, very beginning, and it was not so easy to set up an online shop. But it was always just like side projects. The focus was at uni and, having a good educational background. But I always felt, also when I started at BCG, for example, after my studies, I always felt that this was not be the long-term journey. This was just like something in between, something that I want to use as kind of really as a jumping point to really start my own venture. And then it felt just the right timing after 2 years of consulting to start my own thing.
So you've basically always been an entrepreneur by heart, so to speak, with all these projects at the beginning, at the early ages. Did you have any role model or anyone who has inspired you to become an entrepreneur? Did you have any entrepreneurs in your family?
Actually, not in my family. My family was more kind of originally I'm from Italy, so my parents, grandparents were traditional migrants to Switzerland. And more kind of the regular workers, if you want. But I had some role models actually when I was studying. I was working as a student at the Wegelin, which was a private bank. It doesn't sound entrepreneurial at all. However, the story of Wegelin was quite interesting because it was basically two bankers, two people, entrepreneurs that basically acquired the majority of the bank back in the 90s. So in the 1990s, they both worked at corporate banks before, and they took the risk of going into a very small bank. I think they had 30 employees back then, and then they had an incredible growth over the next couple of decades, basically. So they've grown to 600 or 700 employees, and I was, at least in the end, I was part of it, and it was really inspiring seeing those basically two entrepreneurs that really took the risk in the beginning in the 90s to just like acquire this bank with 30 employees. Then growing it and making it a hugely successful business. And this is where I said, okay, this is pretty cool. And in the future, I want to try something similar.
And so you did, actually. Then in 2020, you actually founded Deskbird together with your co-founder, Jonas. How did you actually meet each other? How did that happen?
We met in Munich when we both started at the same consulting company at BCG. So we basically had the same starting date, and we felt a pretty good personal fit from the beginning. We never did a project together, actually. So professionally, we could not kind of judge each other, but we felt like during all those events, social events that you have in those companies, like, I don't know, going to bars, like having dinners together with your teammates. We just felt a good fit and said, okay, we both have this entrepreneurial drive. And then it was somehow clear that we want to try something together in somewhere in the future.
So then it was more the personal fit, the value split probably also, where you say, hey, we have a good alignment here, and now let's see if that personal fit is also a professional fit.
Yes, totally. Actually, it was only the personal fit, and I would say that this is also the most important thing, because like having a co-founder is like, I'm not the first person saying that, but it's like being in a marriage. Probably you see your spouse less time than you see your co-founder in most of the cases. So it needs to be a very good personal fit.
Absolutely. And did you do any additional tests to also accommodate for the professional fit? Did you then, start small or do any professional testing together to see if you're not only a personal but also professional fit?
I think we skipped this part.
Just jumped right into the cold water.
Exactly. We felt that we had both like this a very similar ambition, a similar work ethos, and then I think it's a good fit. And if you have the same vision and the same like ambition, same hunger also, then usually you can't be wrong.
Right. And how do you actually split the roles? Do you have your clear focus areas that you split amongst each other, or how do you do that?
Yes, totally. We are fully split and kind of it's fully also trust based, and we don't even talk so much like on a daily basis, because everyone has his kind of areas of responsibilities, and it's very simple. So Jonas is doing the tech part of things, basically all that is tech related, and I'm doing the business part of things. And then there is a third area, which is operations. And this is something that we just split among each other. We just look who has a bit more time, and we just take over things and try to do them. For example, recruiting is something that we split also. Obviously, for my areas, I'm in the lead for recruiting. For his areas, he's more in the lead for recruiting.
Perfect. That seems like a good split. Now, you actually organize hybrid work. So maybe I also wonder, how do you actually come up with that problem that you want to solve there? Did you have any personal experiences where you said, here's a big problem that I experienced myself, so now I want to build a company around it? Or how was the idea around Deskbird actually born?
That's also, let's say, it has been a bit of a roller coaster. Why I'm saying that is that we actually started out with something slightly different. We knew from the beginning that we wanted to shape this new way of working that has been accelerated by COVID. We knew that this was our bet, that there will be a huge disruption in the workplace, basically. However, how we started was a bit different, as we thought, or we still, to some extent, we still believe that companies will use co-working spaces at some point, as they're now downsizing their office space as a reaction to the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And then our original model, which we don't have anymore, but which was our starting point, was having a co-working marketplace for B2B, basically, just like trying to offer companies such as Credit Suisse or Allianz, trying to offer them like co-working passes that their employees can use, such as like fringe benefits, such as a gym access or something like that. And then we talked to a lot. We kind of talked to hundreds of companies, and also obviously tried to test the idea. And we realized that the actual problem was not this, it was a different one. The actual problem is that all those companies, they're now having people in their home office and alternating between office and home office. And many companies are introducing flex desks in their own office because they realized, okay, my employees will be in the office just 2 or 3 days a week. And this was basically the really crucial moment where we decided to say, okay, this is what really companies need us, and where we can really kind of create value, add value. And this is where we also pivoted the business model. So we went from a purely co-working, purely marketplace model to a complete software as a service business model. I think this is quite interesting. And this also, however, this has been very important in our history.
That's very fascinating. So first of all, that you actually made that pivot happening. And I also wonder, you mentioned the more than 100 conversations that you held with potential clients. did you use any structured approach to gather their feedback? Because I think that's so crucial, but at the same time, people sometimes also really struggle with, okay, I talk to so many people, but everybody tells me something a bit different. So how do you actually then find out what they want and what I should build with my company? So how did you build the structure in those feedback conversations to then lead to the conclusion that you need to change your offering, basically?
So how we approached it is that I think this is something that we also had to learn. This is really important. So the best feedback you get is actually when you push customers or potential customers to sign a contract with you, or to basically, to send you money, because this is the real proof. So, I mean, you can do a lot of interviews, you can do a lot of research, and many companies would tell you, or many customers, interview partners would tell you, oh, that's a nice thing. Yes, I'm interested. Let's stay in touch and something. But this is not the real proof. So the real proof is really like once you send an invoice to a customer, what happens then? So is he really paying for it, or is he kind of postponing? And
right.
And it sounds a bit like very simple, but this is what we did in the end. So before we had like already the fully productive solution, we already we went to customers, and we had some screens, we had some nice presentations, kind of product overviews, and we tried to pitch it, and we tried already to convince customers, and we saw, okay, this is really something that is working. We had landing pages, we got a lot of traffic, a lot of conversions on the website, and this is where we felt, okay, this is something bigger that we are working on. And for us, this was actually the best proof, and then it was very clear for us to say, okay, look, we have such a big demand. We have signed contracts already before having the product ready. So this must be the direction.
That's the beauty of B2B sales, right? That you can already get contracts up and running already before you actually have a product launched. That's wonderful to validate your idea.
Agree.
How were you actually spending your time? Were you working full-time on the idea validation part already? Or did you do that part-time besides your job?
The first model was part-time, so the co-working marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was more B2C actually, so we were targeting end customers, so we could not test so much in the beginning. I mean, all customers would tell you, yes, it's interesting and they want to use it, but the real test is always like then seeing the engagement in of the solution. Mm-hmm. And then with the pivot, we were already full-time. We had a team of 10 people already, I think, or even 15 people that we kind of slowly recruited over the last months with the co-working marketplace model. And then it was, I mean, we were all in already, so all stakes, high stakes. So it had to be a good decision, and fortunately it was.
Do you think that, going all in and really dedicating your full time to that venture, that this also sort of gives you a different mindset, that you then actually, you have to find a solution, a product that is working, which you might not find or push that hard if you do it part-time besides your job?
Yes, that's not an easy question. For us, it seems as it's working out, but it can also be hard in some times. So if you have a team already, or if you're really kind of bootstrapped, then you don't pay yourself a salary, but you have employees and you kind of didn't yet hit this kind of product market fit stage, then this can be also emotionally dragging quite a bit. So I don't know if I had children, if I would suggest them to do it really kind of just go in and just do it and you find something. But no clear answer to that. Certainly, if you are all in and you're committed, the likelihood that you find something is certainly higher. That's for sure. So for us it worked out.
It's higher, but there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. Yes.
So then, now you found the right business model, the right product or service, better said, to offer. And then, of course, the next challenge is already around the corner. How do you acquire new clients? So, of course, you had your feedback conversations. You already signed the first contracts there. But then that was just the beginning. Of course, you still have to win new clients every day, basically. So how do you go about that? How do you do and close B2B deals?
So we were lucky that we were taking advantage of inbound leads from the very beginning. So we still have a lot of inbound leads coming in, and this makes it for us. It makes it easier to close deals. as we don't have to go through this education phase. So we don't have to educate the customer that he actually has a problem, but customers in our business model, customers often come to us and say, look, I have the problem, I have a budget, so show me that you are the best solution, basically. And then it's easier to close deals, you have shorter sales cycles. And also, what's interesting is that many companies are currently in a need, also sometimes in a rush to find a solution, because they realize, oh, people are coming back to the office and now we are working hybrid and we don't have a solution yet. So let's hurry to find something. So this is something that fortunately has not been such an issue for us. Obviously, we also have, we would say, a very strong solution in terms of UX. So we have basically built a solution that is, in terms of user experience, is kind of like a B2C app. So it's really kind of very user friendly. It's optimized for conversion. And basically apply to B2B context. So usually when B2B deciders see our mobile app or our solution, they just say, wow, that's the best they've seen on the market. That's so nice. I want my employees to use this app and no other app.
Amazing. And I think having that many inbound leads, as you just described, that's also another really strong validation that customers really need what you're actually offering. So I think that's the perfect position to be in. At the same time, I also wonder, these inbound leads, how much were they triggered by COVID? Of course, we have a very special situation already more than 2 years now. What effect did that have on your business? Do you think that this is a huge boost for your business? Or do you think that this will also continue to be that way without COVID, or once COVID is gone, hopefully?
Yeah, actually, we have been asked this question a lot. So if our business model is only a COVID-related thing and no long-term thing, but I think the best proof that we have is that we actually have the biggest customers we have. They all signed multi-year contracts with us. So we have customers that signed 2, 3, or even 4-year contracts with us from the very beginning. So meaning that they really plan for this to be here not only during COVID, but a long time after as well. And actually, we even see that all the companies that we get, they just think about the time after COVID. So it's not, I think we have no customer that just looks for something during the time of the pandemic. Because if it's something temporary, then companies usually, they find workarounds with Excel spreadsheets, like organizing it in a very simple way. They don't want to spend money. Our customers, they really already they are leaders in the hybrid journey, and they want to have a solution that also increases employee engagement. They want to offer their employees a very nice experience because they know, hey, my employees won't have their own dedicated desk anymore, so we are reducing office space. But then at least I want to offer them a very nice solution, a very nice app, how they can easily book desks in the office, how they can easily collaborate with their peers when they come to the office.
That's amazing. I mean, on top of the inbound leads that you get, to have multi-year contracts, that's a very, very sweet business to be in and to build. So now once you've actually been, acquired the first customers, you also realize, although being a Swiss startup, the Swiss market is probably too small for the scope and also the size of your potential business. So how do you solve the issue or the challenge of going international as a Swiss startup?
Yeah, fortunately, we have one big advantage in scaling internationally. And this advantage is that we don't have any regulatory barriers with our solution. So it's not, for example, like HR software, where it's like very country has very specific regulatory requirements. So we don't have it. We can use our solution in Denmark, in Spain, in Germany, in Switzerland. It's basically the same. It's the same problems. So for us, this is an advantage actually. And we have, from the very beginning, we have thought, we are thinking very on a global scale. So we don't want this to be only a Swiss business. Actually, I think we have 20 or 30% of our customers are in Switzerland. The other 70 to 80% are actually in Europe and even beyond. So we also have customers in the US and Canada, for example. So we have started this international expansion already quite early.
Fantastic. Again, very impressive and a very good position to be in. So you also actually experience building a company culture yourself, because you have the remote or hybrid approach yourself. Obviously, you need to also walk the talk, right? So I was also wondering if you can share any best practices with us about how to actually build a company culture from scratch as a fast-growing Swiss startup?
So I'm quite extreme in this regards. As first of all, I believe that you can have a stronger company culture in a remote setting than in a classical in-office setting. And the reason it's a bit like it depends if you are managing the culture actively and you're doing things to build culture. If you do that, then I believe that, as I said, I believe that a hybrid or a remote setting can have a stronger culture than just a regular in-office setting. It's a bit like relationships. Like sometimes you have relationships where you kind of see each other like all the time somehow, but everyone is doing like something on a smartphone or doing something else. I wouldn't say that this is a better relationship than couples that see each other not that often, maybe just like twice a week, but when they see each other, they do something together very deliberately. And this is exactly how we work as a company, as a remote first company, is that we know that we don't have these, informal coffee chats like on the hallways in the office. We don't have it, but we have very conscious events that we organize. So, for example, we have at least once a month, we try to do an online event. This can be an online wine tasting. This can be a cocktail course. It can be cooking course. Like we have done many of those events. We even have done sports together virtually. And on top of that, we also organize summits where we meet together physically. We try to do it twice a year. So the last time it was a summit in Croatia where we met all together. Actually, we were already 20 people, and most of us saw each other for the first time in person. But we've been collaborating with each other like for months already before that. And it was amazing how everything went, and people were so happy. It was such a fit. Also seeing each other in person, it was super smooth from going from virtual collaboration to seeing each other in person. It was super smooth, and we didn't feel any kind of disruption. And that's why I believe that if you manage to manage culture very consciously, then you can have a very strong culture even in a remote setting.
Very nice. So I think if I understood your take or your claim correctly, you basically say by being remote or hybrid, you need to automatically invest so much more effort to actually make those cultural events and things happen. While in a physical environment, you are just there together, but it might not be the top quality time. And then you think, oh, that's already the culture part, so you don't put any effort into it.
Exactly. Perfectly summarized.
Nice. And, you're active in the SaaS, in the software as a service industry. And there, what we see now recently is there is a big war for talent. Everybody wants to have the best people, the most talented and skilled people on their teams, obviously. So I wonder, how do you also differentiate yourself or compete with the other startups and companies in that field to attract the right talent for Deskbird?
So one important thing, and this relates to the question before. So one important thing is that as a remote first company, you have a much bigger talent pool. So we were lucky to really get really talented people, like from developers to people on the business side. And one reason was that we were hiring globally already from the very beginning. And this allowed us to really to find super talented, super ambitious, super hungry people. And this was a huge advantage actually. But we see the war for talent. And interestingly, we see both on the tech side, but also surprisingly on the sales side actually. So now, for example, we are looking for sales talent that can help us scale across Europe, and it's really hard to find good salespeople, good people who want to drive B2B SaaS sales because the market is super competitive. So you have many SaaS companies that hire try to find hundreds of salespeople because they're also well funded, and that's also quite a war for talent for salespeople.
Yeah, absolutely. That certainly is a challenge, but I think you're not alone there. Many other companies and startups face the same challenge. So everybody plays with equal cards, more or less. And talking about fundraising, you also raised capital, 1.3 million seed round with Session VC. So I imagine with your track record, with the traction that you already built, that must have been pretty easy for you to raise the seed money. Was it, or was it more difficult than we imagined from the outside?
Usually it's always not as easy as it looks like from the outside. This is for sure. Generally speaking, currently there is a lot of money in the market there is a lot of VC money in the market, so VCs are investing a lot of money. But I think it's important as a founder that you also look actively for investors that you want to collaborate with, because money is not just money. It comes with something, and in the best case, it comes with a lot of expertise, with a lot of good support, with a lot of hands-on support from investors. That's why also we were very happy with Session, because we really like the collaboration with them so far. They're super hands-on, very smart, a great network as well. So it's a lot of fun. But in the end, it's never easy because those investors usually also have a lot of opportunities to invest in. And in our case, certainly the questions were around the market. I mean, the market is big, the market is attractive, but it's also competitive. So obviously, those investors want to ensure that they invest into the right startups that can actually grab the market and win it over.
Absolutely. And what will the funds actually be used for? I'm sure you have some very specific plans what you're going to do with the money that you raised there.
Yes, I mean, one thing is the product. So this product still needs. We want to become more multi-platform. This means that we just completed the Microsoft Teams app, meaning that now we are really multi-platform solution. You can use Deskbird on a mobile app, you can use it on the web, but you can even use it within Microsoft Teams as an app. So this makes a huge difference, and obviously this needs some development effort to do it. This is one thing for the developing the product. We also have a new module coming, which is called hybrid scheduling. It's a very interesting feature that actually allows you as an employee to see who will be in the office on which days, and also plan your days in the office accordingly. So if you can see, okay, Silvan is in the office next Tuesday and Thursday, so with one click, I can also say, okay, then I also want to join him and go to the office, basically. This is a complete new module that can work as an add-on to the desk booking. This is something that we need the money for, but also for the expansion on the business side. So we are now building up the sales team. We have the first full-time sales employees that we acquired that started with us, and keep expanding basically on also the business team.
Amazing.
And very important, we also have to organize the next physical summit, also looking at company culture. So this also will need some money.
100%, yeah. That's the important part of then hiring and finding the right talent, certainly. So maybe this is a bit a weird follow-up question, but just a use case with the hybrid scheduling that you described, I wonder, from my perspective, again, that's the very outside perspective, but I could imagine that the larger companies, they mainly use probably Outlook as their tool, or they are around in the Microsoft world. And then, of course, they have the Outlook calendar. So why would they need an additional scheduling tool and don't just write in their calendar when they will be in the office and when not?
Yes, good question. It's a matter of user experience. So we make it much easier to see your colleagues, for example, because in Outlook you would need to open the calendars of all your colleagues, basically, and it's very cumbersome to have this overview. So one thing is really user experience. So you can, with our mobile app, you can just see at one glance, and even within Microsoft Teams, you can directly see, hey, look, Silvan is in the office those days. Are his plans. You could even see where you're sitting. So if you have both modules, nice. You could say, Silvan is in the office. He's sitting in the marketing area and being on desk 3, for example. You can easily join on desk 4 if I want. The second thing is that also integrations. So what we are planning to do is also that we will also integrate with HR tools. And for example, we will be able to feed vacation, for example. If we know that someone is on vacation for the next 3 weeks, then we can feed this information and they will directly see, okay, Silvan, he won't be in the office anyway the next 3 weeks. So because I get the information from HR, from the HR suite.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Then you have not only a way better user experience, but in the end also a way more efficient process of actually working and collaborating effectively and efficiently together.
Totally. And that's the point also. What's important in our solution is we're not just desk booking, but really we are a tool to foster collaboration in a hybrid setting.
Yeah, and that's a whole different level compared to just having another booking tool. Absolutely agree. So now if we look at your numbers, so you launched in 2020, you already have more than 10,000 users, among which are WeFox and Amazon, for example. So it's easy to predict a very sunny future and a bright future for you and Deskbird. But what do you think will be the next big challenges that you face and have to overcome to really make it to that next level or milestone?
Yes, now it's about scaling, obviously. So we need to scale both in terms of financing. So we are already basically after financing round is before the financing round. So
Yeah.
we are already preparing the next round, which will be in summer 2022, basically summer this year. This will be one big challenge that this will obviously allow us to accelerate further. Second thing is building up a sales organization. So we know that the market is competitive. So one important aspect to win the market is really having the best sales organization that can do sales in Spain, can do sales in France, can do sales in different countries across Europe, also knowing the cultural differences, the small details that often make the difference between winning or losing a pitch. And then as a last thing is also on the product side, we want to grow into a workplace platform. So as of today, we are still quite a feature heavy business. So we have this feature, but we want to add features or even modules to the workplace platform. So things that we are already planning for is, for example, that you can have meeting room displays as well, or where you can have kiosk systems where you can see, let's say you're working for Swisscom, you go to the Swisscom office, you have a big monitor where you can see, okay, Silvan is sitting in this area today. So you can either book by a mobile or you can book on the kiosk directly and say, okay, I want to sit next to him because we need to discuss something. These are a couple of things that we are planning to expand the product, and this will also obviously be a big challenge to build a very scalable product that is a workplace platform in the end.
Absolutely. So certainly a very exciting future ahead of you, I would say.
We hope so.
So to wrap up today's episode, we have some rapid fire questions for you. So basically, I either give you different options to choose from or a simple question, and you have to answer in one sentence. Are you ready?
Ready.
Remote most of the time or in office most of the time?
Remote.
Easy choice for you. How do you recover and recharge personally?
Not enough, probably.
But if you do it, what do you do? What helps you there?
Sports, actually. Sports and reading books actually also helps a lot in really changing your mind. And yeah.
Do you read business books or fiction books?
I tend to read business books, even though my girlfriend always says that I should start reading more fiction books because it's better to actually really recover. So I'm one big resolution for 2022 is reading more fiction books. Let's see if I make it.
Perfect. We'll catch up again in 12 months, okay?
Okay.
Solving your own problem, yes or no?
Now that we are growing, yes. So we have not started with that, but as we're growing, we're actually using Deskbird as well for our company.
Nice. Perfect. Where do you actually go to think if you have a tough challenge or a tough cookie to crack?
Just for a walk outside.
Nice. And the last one for you, if you were not an entrepreneur, what would you be doing nowadays?
I don't want to imagine that, actually. Probably, I don't know, maybe working for a VC company, trying to stay close to the startup scene. But I like this side of things better.
So you're in the perfect sweet spot then, right now. So
yeah,
Ivan, Ivan, thank you so much for joining us. That was really a lot of fun, and I think you delivered many cool insights to think about and maybe to even apply to our own businesses. So thank you so much for being on the show today, and we wish you lots of success and are really excited to see what you're building with Deskbird.
Yeah, super cool. It was so fun being here. Thanks for having me, and yeah.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.